Hi, this is Mark with Crown & Caliber, and welcome to Hidden Gems. When we talk about Hidden Gem, we talk about something that's unusual, something that stands out from the rest of the watch world. And Glashutte Original is a brand as a whole that stands out for many reasons. And this watch in particular is a great example of all the things that make them different and what makes them a hidden gem. So let's get into it. So what we should start with is the history of Glashutte, because that's what sets up what is unusual. Back, at the end of World War II, in Eastern Germany, where the center of watchmaking was located in Southeast Germany, all of the German watch brands had to be, thanks to the USSR, were pushed together under one brand that was called a very long German name that I'm not going to attempt, but was abbreviated to GUB. When the wall fell in 1990, it decided to rebrand itself as Glashutte Original, and all the pre-World War II brands were part of that and became the center of German watchmaking. But when that happened, the USSR cut off all the materials coming from Switzerland. German watchmaking could no longer rely on all the Swiss parts, the Swiss movements, the Swiss hairsprings, the Swiss jewels, the case, the dials, nothing. So they had to start from scratch almost and rebuild everything. The good news about that is they're able to build their own watch industry up. No matter what brand you love, it's almost guaranteed that the dial is not made by them. There are not many places who make their own dials. Glashutte, on the other hand, actually makes their own dials. They have an in-house dial maker that makes for other brands too, but most famously for themselves. Glashutte is part of Swatch Group under this big umbrella brand. You have Longines and Hamilton and Omega and Blancpain. None of them make their own dials, except for Glashutte and Breguet. The dials that are made, they're gorgeous, they're works of art, and they like to show them off. Because when you make your own, why not show why you make your own? Why not show something that's different from the other guy? And they do it. This one in particular, the Glashutte Sixties, it's a series that they started in 2018 to do one dial every year. They made it for 1 year, and that's it. So they're able to play with something. It doesn't have to be this long-lasting, unusual thing. It can be fun. So when we talk about them having their own dial maker in-house, we should talk about how it's made. The first thing is they take a press out a blank from it. But what's kind of cool is this press is the same one that made the original dials in the 60s that make this one now the throwback. They still use the same process because when you do it right, why change it? They then take that blank and they add layer and layer and layer of lacquer to it, which creates this beautiful pattern where it goes from this bright center to this dark edge called a dégradé pattern. And then because it has all those layers, they do something that no other watch I can think of has ever done. Instead of painting on hour markers or applying hour markers, which take a little more energy, they actually go by hand and cut into the dial to create a relief pattern that gives some depth, but actually cuts in. It's a way to do the markers that is a little bit different. It's something that nobody else does. It's something that gives a depth without adding height to it. It's something that's not done. It's something that's different. It gives it a little style, and it's not something you see from somebody else. And that's just what they do on the dial. So when you flip the watch over, you then get to see the movement side. And it is pure German. 3/4 plate, swan neck regulator, things you do not see in Swiss watchmaking, you don't see in Japanese watchmaking. It is a purely German thing. And between the dial and the movement, you first look at the watch and you don't see that. You see a really cool watch, a throwback watch, but that's what makes it a hidden gem. You see a dial that's beautiful, but it took extra steps that other people don't do because they can't. They don't have their own dial manufacturer. You see a movement that is of a region that's different from Swiss watchmaking. It's different from Japanese watchmaking. It's a beautiful culture and history to that movement just because of its style. It takes an extra second to just go into and see all the little details of this watch. That's a very simple watch, but none of it is done like someone else. Nobody does the markers, nobody does the dial like that. Almost nobody does the movement like that. And all that together makes this watch a hidden gem. Hope you enjoyed staring at this beautiful dial with me on the Glashutte original. Hope to see you next time on Hidden Gems.